This is on, right?
Thank you, Nino.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for introduction. I don't have a visual presentation, so please stay with me during the next 10 minutes. So to answer quickly to your question, yes, I think that this model that we have is replicable. That's why I thought it was a good case to present to this panel and to this auditorium. And as for the attention, I think, well, the case that the project that I will talk about is basically an experiment, a pilot in the data management field, data management policy, which is built to feed the evidence for the policymakers. So it's both. And I also agree with the previous presenters that there's no either one or another, but it's both. As you presented, I work for the government of Georgia, for the Ministry of Justice. This agency, it's called Public Service Development Agency, and it's one of the main service provider agencies in the country, so it collects lots of administrative data. And it is also one of the leading agencies involved in migration management, and I personally work in the migration management field with the migration data. So my main message today is that there's a lot of potential in administrative data that is not used today, and I'm here to advocate for using administrative data more. Why? Because by using administrative data, first of all, we get much better informed governance, better informed policies, not only on the very high policy level, but also on the very low service provision and management, daily management level. We get more transparent government. Not only, I don't mean transparency for the outsiders, to the non-governmental sector necessarily, but also transparency inside, within the government, between the government agencies, which is very important for a healthy policymaking environment. And thirdly, by using administrative data, we get better quality data. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, I'm sure most of you know what administrative data is, but we mean any data that any administrative body, a government agency collects. It can be a registry, it can be service provision, it can be anything, internal management data, any data basically that is being collected. So you probably think that using this data is not news. We've been producing statistics using this data for decades. But in the past decade or so, governments have switched to using more electronic data, management systems inside. So these management systems force them to collect more data, more details on processing, case processing, on management, on anything they do. So much like the big tech pioneers that we often mention, like Amazon and Google, governments also tend to collect extensive data on their populations that they serve, or their employees, or the processes they manage. And it's a very rich resource. And on the other hand, the technology is catching up. We've been talking about the big data. It's a big buzz about big data all this time. And some of you who are interested in technology have probably heard the names of Hadoop and Hortonworks and Spark. These are one of the leading big data processing companies and softwares. They allow us to be more bold, to be more daring and bold in what we want to do with the data. To give you a very simple example, back in the old times, if a data analyst had to run a script in the evening and leave office hoping that the computation would be finished by the morning, now we can do the same operations in a matter of minutes. So we can experiment more with the data. We can link administrative data with another administrative data sets, or we can link administrative data with the census data, or with the surveys, or we can link them with the classic big data, social media data or mobile data. So this gives a lot of opportunities. But the question is what we do with this. we have technology, we have data, how do we apply it to the practice? And so here comes our solution. We call it the system Unified Migration Data Analytical System, UMAS for short. Why we decided to do, we started to develop this system back in 2010. It took a while, but it's now in testing mode, and we're constructing test reports using this data. So why did we start doing this? Because in the migration management field, there are many line ministries involved, and everyone collects data in their own field. Like one agency collects data on border crossing, the other collects on the documents issued to citizens or immigrants, then yet another collects on the land ownership and business registers and so on and so forth. So we had all these separate puzzles, but we couldn't reconstruct the big picture that we needed to answer some of the policy questions. And here then came this big data technology. Now what we do is we collect my administrative data from 7 different line ministries, put them in one warehouse, integrate them using the person matching algorithm, and try to make it available to policymakers and decision makers, to business basically. This model that we have has 3 features. Have a data pool, have some kind of warehouse where you collect data, then process and clean it, make it available for analysis, and then the third is make it applicable. Make it usable for decision makers. None of these 3 is unheard of, right? Private companies have been doing this for years, but they are the owners of their own data, and they are the pioneers in many ways. While in government, public agencies are not used to sharing their microdata with each other, and in many cases, administrative data is still used only for administrative purposes and is left and is not analyzed ever. So in that sense, this is an innovative approach. So again, what we do, we collect data on regular basis. So the data in our warehouse is updated and allows for interested parties to look at the latest trends and latest changes, or if they want to look at the historic data. Then the data is cleaned because administrative data can be very messy and it needs a lot of cleaning and tidying. And integration based on the individuals or events, it depends what the needs are, is also quite complicated operation. And only depersonalized data is made available to the analysts. And thirdly, we use Tableau, which is one of the leading business intelligence tools on the market, to visualize the data and make it accessible for the interested parties. Because many policymakers or just middle-level civil servants are not that comfortable with data, and Tableau is a good tool to those non-techie person and non-data people to feel comfortable with the reports that they're working with. So, as I said, we decided to apply this to the migration management field, but this can be applied to any field where the administrative data is collected, and this is literally any field of governance. Social care, healthcare, criminology, you name it. And finally, I'll repeat my 3 points. Using administrative data is good tool, good resource to inform governance, to push governments to be more transparent, and to have better quality data, because the more we use them, the more pressure is on the data collectors to produce better quality data and put more effort in their data management and data warehouses. Thank you.
Great.